Disclaimer, obviously, spoilers for Deltarune. That kind of should go without saying. If you care about the story, or anything about Deltarune, if you care about it, and you want to play through it, why the hell are you here? Go play the game. I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun, and then come back here. Alright, now that those idiots are gone, so I'm gonna do something a little different today. As of Deltarune Chapter 3 and 4 release, I have been a little obsessed, in all honesty. Now, playing through Chapters 3 and 4, I had a few little ideas pop into mind. There were a few little things I noticed playing through the game that I figured I would talk about. Just, you know, throw my 2 cents into the ring for the few people who are gonna watch this. Like, add to some existing theories, throw out some of my own stupid ideas, stuff like that. And Chapters 3 and 4 really kick shit into gear in terms of story. Chapter 4 especially is really moving into what the hell's going on, rather than just cracking jokes. Also, just a PSA, game theory is they just need to stick with FNAF. Their latest video added absolutely nothing to the discussion throughout the community. Everything in that video is shit that I've already seen other theorists talk about and go into a lot more detail with. I'll go through and link some of the other like really good theories that I like. I'll link those in the description. But yeah, don't watch Game Theory's video. It's fucking worthless. Anyway, without further ado, let's talk. Alright, so first off, a theory that has been bouncing around in the community ever since the night was first mentioned in Chapter 1. Who the hell is the Knight? I, myself, am a firm Death Knight believer. My personal, like, the few things that are really driving home the Death Knight theory for me, like, the only other real candidate that I've seen is Carol. And the reason I don't think it's Carol is, first of all, she's got swords all over the house, and that just screams red herring. Like, too much, dude. Also, I don't think a sword is going to turn into a sword in the Dark World. I'm not an expert on how the Dark Worlds work, but Kris is wielding a pencil right now. If a pencil is a sword, then a real sword is probably not going to be a sword. Also, Carol is just... she's got a stick up her ass. All we know about this character so far is that she's really down to business. She's got a job to do, she's focused on that job. She has a stick up her ass, and she is not the one for playing games or having fun, doing fucking anything. When she's doing a job, she's doing her job. The way the Knight acts, it's so sassy. There is so much teenage angst and sass in the way that the Knight moves and acts that can only be achieved by a punky teenager. Also, one of the big things I saw somebody mention was Des isn't actually mentioned a whole lot in the game. Des is just a casual player isn't gonna have any idea who Des is. And to that, I primarily want to come out and say, Chapter 3 is the Des chapter. If there wasn't any mention of December before now, there was in Chapter 3, up to the extent of an entire fucking Guitar Hero minigame, where Tenna talks about December. Like, outright name drop, just out of nowhere, in a part of the game that is, like, mandatory. we're now getting the name December associated with a person. The gotcha machine in the green room, if you put 1225 into it, you get a little room that's playing Dess's motif. The code to the exit area, the last part, is 1225, December 25th, a December holiday. And that door opens up into a snowy area. Why is it a snowy area? Hell if I know. We're in TV land. This is December. This entire chapter has been teasing December more than ever before. And now, all of a sudden, at the end of this chapter, we run into this character. Also, one of the few things we know about Des is she's MIA, missing, possibly dead. And what do we see the knight do before the fight? It roars, and it looks like a mangled corpse. Do I have an explanation, a theory as to why a mangled corpse is here fighting us? No, I don't. I don't know what December must have done to go wander off into the woods and fucking meet a symbiote so she could We Are Venom flex at the beginning of her fight. But what I do know is, if you have a dead character reappearing, what a better way to display an undead character than just, you know, make them go full zombie, make a big old roar. In terms of narrative storytelling, like what would be the most satisfying identity, it's at the end of a chapter where we get the most mentions of Des yet. This entire chapter is just building up December as a character, and then at the end we get this. What better way to introduce a character? So I just figured I'd like draw attention to that, since I haven't seen anybody talking about it. That's all I really have in that department. Let's on to the next thing. Susie is one of, if not my single favorite character, and Chapter 4 really solidified that. For this section, I'm gonna preface some things that have already, like, everybody's talking about this, but I'm also just gonna briefly go over it, just for shits. Basically, what it boils down to is Ralsei's retelling of the story and telling us that Susie is the second hero of the prophecy is a load of bullshit. Whether Ralsei's deliberately lying or if he's just stupid, I sincerely believe Susie is not the second hero of the prophecy, but a secret fourth thing. One of the first things we see in the Chapter 4, the first Chapter 4 Dark World of the Church, we see the prophecy. We're seeing the prophecy panels. The first few things we see are the beginning of it. Big thing of note here, they're all in order. It's telling the prophecy in order. Everything is correct. The very first thing we see in Susie's Dark World is those same prophecy panels in the wrong order. Everything about this Dark World is just really weird, and it's constantly trying to draw attention to that. Like, the game is not hiding it. There is something wrong with this Dark World. Later on in this Dark World, we start to see some things about our heroes. The third hero, the Prince Alone in Deepest Dark. The first hero, the cage with human soul and parts. And last was the girl. At last was the girl. The second hero, the girl with hope crossed on her heart. Something that pretty much everybody has figured out at this point is those things are not in the right order. The correct order should be, or you would assume would be, the first hero, the cage with human soul and parts. The second hero, the girl with hope crossed on her heart. The third hero, the prince alone in deepest dark. And last was the girl, at last was the girl. That fourth panel is accompanied by a symbol that looks a lot like Susie's Broodbuster. But it's pretty clear that our 3 heroes, which the prophecy does reinforce, there are 3 heroes, this last 4th character isn't one of these heroes. Now, I don't think the girl here necessarily plays an antagonistic role in the prophecy. She's definitely not one of the heroes, but she plays an important role. Ever since Chapter 1, she's been making her own decisions, going off track, not listening to Kris, writing her own story. Gerson, during his fight, there is a lot going on. He's pretty much talking about his book, The Lord of the Hammer, and giving a little summary of every chapter. His summary of the first chapter is: the heroes defeat the king and stop the dragon. What do we do in Chapter 1? We defeat a king, and in the process of doing so, we stop Susie from attacking all of the monsters in the Dark World. And then at the end, after his fight, he tells Susie that she reminds him of one of the characters in it. And when she asks who he's talking about, which character, he says, "You are the dragon." But that's pretty much the last we hear of the dragon in this summary of the book. Towards the end of this fight, Gerson tells Susie that she holds the white pen of fate. And she says, "No, Kris has the pen, my weapon is like a hairbrush or something." But I think Gerson's genuinely onto something with telling Susie that she has the power to rewrite her story, because she does. Of our characters, she's the only one that doesn't directly listen to Kris and goes off and does her own thing, making her own decisions. The big thing that I really want to draw attention to, because I haven't seen anybody else talk about it. Throughout Chapter 4, there are several instances where Gerson and Kris both break prophecy panels, shatter these little glass panes that display the prophecy. Right off the bat, the first time we see it, Gerson destroys a prophecy while we're reading it, and we walk into the next room and see that same exact prophecy panel immediately afterwards. And Ralsei tells us that the prophecy can't be rewritten. And every time we see one of these panels break, we immediately see the next panel we see is a backup for that panel. This happens several times, and the game really tries to reinforce this. At the end, when Susie runs off ahead and catches a glimpse of the last prophecy panel, the tragedy, what has to happen for the heroes to save the world, she punches the prophecy panel and laughs at it. What I don't see people drawing attention to is the next panel we see isn't that panel. We don't see a backup. I believe Susie plays an important role that consists of rewriting the prophecy, getting a happy ending. The heroes are just playing a role in the prophecy. We're just going through the motions. The prophecy has foretold that certain events are going to happen. The heroes are going to play this role. We're just going through the motions. This is a thing that is set in stone. Susie isn't one of the heroes. Susie is playing a different role. And when she punches this last prophecy panel, she's rewriting the story. She has the power to change the outcome of the prophecy, to bring about a happy ending. We're just here to go through the motions. She's writing our story. That's all I really got. This was just kind of just spitballing some thoughts. I know a lot of it was recapping stuff that's already been said, but I just figured I'd throw my 2 cents, the few little things that I haven't seen people talk about. Figured I'd throw those into there. But yeah, thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. Feel free to, you know, harass me and start a discussion in the comments. That's really what this is for, is starting a discussion, just talking with you guys. I look forward to reading those. Yeah, you know, consider subscribing. That would be kind of neat. I like watching those numbers go up. You all have a wonderful day.